tensions within the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, and it does look like that tension is dipping as the party grapples with intense wrangling over internal endorsements and growing factionalism highlighted by the national leadership's May endorsement of President Bola Tinubu for a second term, a move that has sparked backlash from northern heavyweights like Senator Ali Ndume and former Governor Nasiru El-Rufai, who have accused the party of stifling intra-party democracy. Meanwhile, the national chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, has downplayed the opposition's emerging coalition, incorporating figures like Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, El-Rufai, calling it a failed joint venture, despite growing defections of governance and lawmakers to the APC, where this perceived feud has laid bare the party's internal dynamics, just as the opposition intensify efforts through talks of mega coalitions and potential new party formations to capitalize on APC disunity ahead of the 2027 elections. I'm being joined to unpack all of these issues, whether the APC is really or can reconcile these divisions or risk implosion. Let's speak with the party's National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Felix Moka. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And those who have prophesied, said that your party is going for the rings, that the party is in flames.
They're wishful thinkers.
Did you hear my former speaker, the former speaker on the program?
Your guests?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And your party is in trouble.
No, we're not. You know, I must say that you are a very patient man to listen to all that sound and fury, signifying nothing, really. I mean, you know, Kenneth has his manners about him, his way of speaking. But, you know, I listened very carefully. I was in a waiting room, and he said nothing that made any sense. Not even his own comments about the prospects of the so-called coalition. You know, he was just rambling around. You asked smart questions to which he gave answers that didn't suggest, you know, any meaning to the answers, to the questions that you asked. Our party is not in trouble of any kind. We are waxing strong. The APC and its prospects have never been better. You know, you see, look, there's a reason that serious citizens, people who have, I think, been put to the test in their constituencies, who have won elections, who have the backing of their people, who are making deliberate decisions to come into our party. You know, you can't, it's not one, it's not two, it's not three. It's a whole movement of people into our party. You can't suggest, possibly, that all of these people put together are not thinking enough or don't know what they're doing. I mean, so, if you did that as, you know, someone like Kenneth would suggest, you know, then you don't know what's going on.
Because the latest defection, either from Akwa Ibom or from Delta, there are those who have linked issues of survivor of some of these politicians. The reason why they had to move from their party in their comfort zone. These people are traditionally holders of the ticket or the mandate of the people of those states. Delta, traditionally a PDP state. Akwa Ibom state, the same thing. So why the fear of moving into the APC? And there are those who say it's a fear of the possible annihilation of the APC government.
How does that make any sense, Shehu?
Have you not heard it?
Look,
that, for example, in your state, Delta.
How does that make any sense?
That is an arm twisting, political arm twisting.
I'm twisting by who and of who?
By the state.
Look, listen.
Allegedly.
How do you untwist in our, you know, democracy, in our presidential system of government, where the governor of the state is the chief executive officer of the state, who controls the resources and the powers vested by the Constitution in a governor in that state? How do you untwist the governor? By what, you
think
device?
It's possible?
No, shall we say, look...
Or the backers of the governors.
Shall we say, people who say that simply, you know, they just completely, I think, affected by what appears to be APC's ascendancy.
So is it defection? You said the defections are organic?
They're totally organic. You see, Delta State is one of the richest states in the country. That's my state.
And yes, too.
As you said, my state has been governed by the PDP consistently since 1999. So, you know, when the governor of that state and all of the leaders of the PDP in that state decide that they would move together into the APC, how can you possibly suggest that somebody twisted them? You know, how come that twisting didn't happen since 1999?
Are you hearing this for the first time?
I'm not hearing. People say that, but I don't take that seriously.
But look, did you hear the comment about your party up against the Nigerian people ahead of the election? That your party is going to be faced in opposition by the Nigerian people.
That is comments rendered by people who clearly have lost confidence in their own political party. You know, it's a statement of utter frustration. When you say, you know, Nigerians is APC versus, APC is a political party. But when you suggest that APC will be pitched against Nigerians, you know, denying the existence and the relevance of your own political platform, you know, it shows just, you know, people who are, you know, completely confused.
Maybe because of the situation of things in the country and how it might be difficult for your party to explain to Nigerians how you are able to substantiate your policy alongside the result that we are seeing today. Are you able to tell Nigerians tonight that their lives are better than you met it in 2023?
The foundations of our national life are by far stronger today than we met it. You see, you
based on what are the indices?
No, hang on. Let me answer your question. In your conversation with Kenneth, he was suggesting that a way to redeem the Nigerian economy was to actually, you know, increase exports, reduce imports, and, you know, achieve a balance of payment that was favorable to Nigeria. I don't think that man actually pays attention to the headlines, at least. Certainly not to the news, because he's clueless about the state of address of the economy. Just in the first quarter of 2005, Nigeria had a trade surplus of over 5 trillion naira. And consistently, for several quarters, our balance of payments have been favorable, consistently, meaning that we are exporting more than we're importing. So when he comes on national television to say, you know, that is exactly what this government is doing.
You think the flotation of the naira is a good policy?
Hang on. We had no alternative, Sheung, than to remove the fuel subsidy and to float the naira. Those were non-negotiable policy, you know, directions, which I think everyone, including, you know, his principal, Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar, whoever, you know, his principal might be, also committed to Nigeria in their campaign to float the naira and take out fuel subsidy. You see, let me say this. I listened to all the, you know, I mean, just high-sounding talk that he gave to you in reaction to your questions. But, you know, one thing that I have not seen from these characters who are coming together in this coalition, they have not told Nigerians exactly what they would do differently from what this government is doing. You are a star journalist. Please tell me what they have told you in terms of policy prescription that they would champion that are different from what this president is doing. You know, on what level, whatever. I can pause for you to actually tell me. There is none. They've said nothing other than simply attack the president and attack the APC. They have not told Nigerians what it is they are offering to Nigeria that is different. Yeah. So, you know, when I ask you what's your name, you tell me your name is not Felix Smoker. That is not your name. You tell me your name. So they must tell Nigerians what this government is doing that they would do differently and what results they would expect to achieve.
So your party is not having a sleepless night over this coalition?
Why would we have a sleepless
Look at the
night?
faces there.
Yes, I can't.
There are familiar faces, isn't it?
Very familiar faces of failed individuals who have left no legacy, who have had more than enough opportunity to govern. Every single one of them.
Including Rotimi Amechi. Including Peter Obi.
Who was speaker, who was governor, who was minister for, you know, nearly a quarter of a century.
And you heard what Rufai said. He said he's going to send your principal, the president, back to Lagos to retirement in 2027.
Rufai is a Nigerian. He has, you know, the right to free speech. He can say what he wants. And it's not everything that people say you take seriously. So he was talking to the air. He wasn't speaking to any real issue or
He's
question.
talking as to the wave.
No, he was talking
to the wave of the opposition that is going to hit your party.
He just talking.
And Kenneth was saying that APC will never believe the kind of storm that will hit it in 2027.
Like I said, wishful thinking.
And that endorsement came to Jonathan in 2015, and he failed to win an election.
Listen,
could that template be a lot of your party?
No, President Bola Tinubu is not under any circumstance to be compared with President Jonathan. These are two different, people in two different political eras. And this president, while they're busy, running and talking, this president is laying down legacies that are utterly transformational, that are solving Nigeria's problems that these individuals you refer to left unsolved. Even when they had the opportunity to do so, they didn't. They couldn't solve those problems.
If Kenneth, for example, said this is the worst president in history, you are saying if they have not been able to do it, you are implying that he's probably the best president in history. Is that what you're saying?
Sheon, let me say this, and I've said it, before. This president in 2 years has done what none of his predecessors had done in the same span of time to really reset Nigeria's economic foundations for growth and sustainable prosperity. No other president has done that in 2 years. You see, let me tell you, when his predecessors, all they did was simply take Band-Aid and put on an injury, never bothered to actually treat the root causes of those injuries. That's all they did. Kick the can down the road for the next president. This is the president who came along and said, you know what, listen, enough of these pretenses. I will not simply seek popularity over doing that which I swore to do, which is to tackle Nigeria's problems at its root.
Just a moment.
That's what he's doing.
Yeah. So I'm able to unsee you in the first day I met you. A lot of Nigerians may not even know that you're more or less like a pastor before now. And you were an advocate of the Nigerian people. You fought for the people of Makoko. You fought for the people who lived in Ashanti. So I'm unable to unsee you in that light, even as you're a partisan person right now. And in all honesty, Mr. Moka, defend the decision of your party and your government with the examples of how lives of Nigerians have been better. Can you?
But I just did. I just told you.
In practical terms, we're talking as intellectual. But a lot of the millions of people who are watching now will say, yes, this is more of rhetoric, but in practical terms. And I'm very sure that on your mobile phones, as a politician, you won't have less than 10, 15 people that you service and transfer money to every month, isn't it? Are the lives of the Nigerian people better now than you met it? In practical terms, are they able to buy food cheaper? Are they able to transport in a cheaper way, an easier way? Now, in what practical terms? Can you give us 3 practical terms that in average Nigerian people's life is better now than your government met it?
Sheon, you talked about, we're talking intellectually. I think the foundation of your question, also has a certain level of, I think, almost, intentional bias to it. Your question is framed to produce a reaction that I think is, almost inappropriate for the conversation we're having. Because, you should background your question with the state of affairs of our country, even, way before the last 2 years. And, take it in the context of the challenges that you and I know this country was faced with. That we were simply, sitting on the brink, on the precipice of economic collapse. This country was, almost insolvent, was unable to even pay its own bills. Nigeria was borrowing to do basic things that a country should do. So when you ask this question, almost isolating the question from the, almost like the immediate past context in which that question is situated. I think that's actually an unfair question to ask. But I will answer you, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's your job to defend. My job is to ask the question.
No, you ask the question.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But you also have a responsibility to ask the question in a way that I think takes into cognizance
I heard you. I heard
the parameters.
But you feel uncomfortable with the way I asked the question, but I don't think there's anything wrong in the question.
Listen, I am not uncomfortable.
And I'm saying that, and I'm giving you the opportunity, free of charge. You are not paying for it. Your party is not paying for it.
Hang on. You invited me. I didn't ask to come here.
Yeah.
Okay, so, so it's mutual.
Go ahead.
You asked me to come. You should be thankful that I came, right? No, you invited me.
Your party should pay to
No, you invited me. But look, listen.
Please go ahead. Yes. Free of charge. Go ahead.
Listen, this president met an economy that was, in dire straits. An economy that has been in dire straits for decades. Let me say that in addition. This economy has been in dire straits for a long time. Not even in the last, 8 years or 10 years. Under Jonathan, under, President Obasanjo, the economy still was in dire straits because the fundamentals were off. And, for an economy to actually, evolve to meet the needs of its people, the fundamentals must be good. The foundation of a house must be strong. You can have a fancy finishing, but if the foundation of your house is actually not, well done, you have a problem. And that's what, all of the presidents before this, president simply left untouched, didn't bother to fix the problem where it needed to be fixed.
So for example, is a savior.
Tinubu, you may call him a savior.
I'm asking if he is.
Tinubu is an effective president. And he's a president who has come in, recognizing the problems, and decided, I'm not going to pander to please anyone. I am going to simply solve the problem so that tomorrow will be better for Nigeria. And already, yes, as he said when he announced those twin policies, the first subsidy removal and floating of the naira, he warned that it will be tough. Nobody said it was going to be easy, and it hasn't been easy. But there's also no country that has turned the corner, Shehu. No country that some of us travel to. People who
So things are going to get better? Is that what you're implying?
Things are getting better already. Now, when this thing happened, of course we saw, a sharp, spike in, inflation and, food inflation, especially affecting a lot of people. That is beginning to, come down. Commodities and the prices are, turning down. We're seeing, macroeconomic indicators looking up. I see when you talk about macroeconomic indicators, you can't have microeconomic, good when your macroeconomic indicators are wrong. So usually, macroeconomic indicators are pointers that things are looking up.
Right.
Because it takes, a while for then all of those things, the things we worry about, the food and
this is the way I would like us to anchor.
That's how,
because I'm being told that we're totally out of time. There is what has been described as insensitivity of endorsement by your party and is by the leadership of the party. Do you think it was sensitive for your party to be endorsing the president, whom nobody has challenged within the party whether to get a ticket or not in 2027, in the faces of tough things, and those who believe that things are getting better? Why endorse it? Does it look like a sensitive action by your party? Quickly, because we're totally out of time.
Why is it not sensitive? I don't understand why anyone would suggest that it's insensitive. Why? We're a political party. So it's okay for the opposition to bandy around and, saturate the airwaves with talks of, coalition and, you just quoted El-Rufai, speaking like, a child, talking about sending someone to Lagos and all of that. And it's not okay for the ruling party to, invoke its own internal processes to either affirm, the president who we believe is doing a fantastic job trying to bail this country out of crisis. Look, these are all political, statements. We are doing exactly what we were set up to do as a party. We have not breached any code. Otherwise, INEC would be on our case.
All right.
We have not breached any code. We're not campaigning. We're simply, passing a vote of confidence. When you talk about, endorsement, it's simply a vote of confidence on the president.
All right.
And we're very, very, committed, I think, to, transforming the very basis.
My good friend, Felix Moka. Thank you so much. A former activist.
Still an activist. Always will be.
I told you, I've not been able to unsee you from that eyes.
Always will
and
be.
There is a locus classicals about some of the environmental laws in Nigeria from the Supreme Court in that direction.
Yes.
But now you're a politician. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you
For your time tonight. That's our show for tonight, everyone. Man, thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.